it's Jason from Pro Guitar Studio, and today we're taking a look at single note hammer-on chord fills. Now this sounds like a mouthful, so let me break it down for you. So when I say single note, we're just playing one note at a time. So usually with chords, we're strumming, right? So we're going to play single notes in between those chords. So a fill is something connecting the chords together, okay? And it also adds a lot of interest to do this kind of stuff. So it'll make it more interesting. I'll show you in a second, compared to playing the regular, standard strumming on just two chords. We're going to make it much more interesting. Now the hammer-on comes in that title because we're actually doing a hammer-on technique. So instead of picking the notes, we're going to do a hammer-on where we actually play one note and use our fretting hand to hammer down and actually make the sound of that next note. And then, like I said, the chord fill idea there is because we're connecting those chords, we're doing a fill in between the chords. So a drummer does a fill when they add a whole bunch of extra things to their beat to signify either the end of a measure or the end of a sequence. Usually it's after like 4 measures, you'll do a fill, right? And so fills help with a few things. Number one, they make it more interesting. Number two, they help you connect with where you are in the song. So if I played a G chord over and over, it can be hard to know where you are in that progression if it's just a G chord, right? Where, which measure are you on? So one thing that can help with that is the dynamics in your rhythm. So playing soft and loud. Or a fill can help signify the end of your measure. Right? So you can sort of get a sense of finality to that, because when we add that extra fill in, it sort of tells our ears that we're going back to the start, right? Almost like in blues you have a turnaround. So the chord fill is to complete that phrase and let us go to the next chord. Okay, so we're starting off here on a G chord. So that's our first chord, and I'm doing a 4-finger G. Okay, so I'm using my middle finger on the thickest string, low E, 3rd fret, index finger on the A string, 2nd fret, ring finger on the B string, 3rd fret, and pinky finger on the high E string, 3rd fret. So this is still called a G chord. I call it the 4-finger G because you can still do a G like this. That's the 3-finger G. This is the 4-finger G, okay? Now the benefit here is that when we go to the next chord, the ring and pinky finger will stay in place. And there's a lot of songs that do this, not only with the G and C chords, but with other chords like E minor 7, A7 sus 4. Wonderwall by Oasis is a classic one. Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Those are all songs that will utilize this 4-finger G formation where these 2 fingers don't move. Alright, so we're going to strum 6 times on this chord, but just like I was saying earlier, if we just strum all the same way, like, it really doesn't make it sound nice, number one, but also it gives us no sense of where we are in the progression. So I'm going to accent 1, 2, 3, 4, the 3rd and 4th strum, and I'm doing all down strums to make it easy for everyone today. Alright, and then the next 2 are soft as well. But you might find that this whole thing is difficult to put together, and if you find, strumming and adding the notes I'm going to show you afterwards are tough, cut out the 5th and 6th strum. So like, just leave it like that, and then add the single notes, okay? Because it'll be easier to manage in time. But otherwise, I'm going soft, soft, and the soft strums with my forearm motion, right? I'm strumming the thickest strings mostly, and then for the strong strums, expanding my strum to all the strings. Okay, so soft, soft, loud, loud, soft, soft. And then we're going to add in a hammer-on the 5th string. So I'm taking my middle and my index off. I'm going to play the open A string and hammering on to the 2nd fret. So my fretting hand is the only one making that sound. So I'm coming down fast enough like a hammer to make that sound. Now, a big thing that will happen, a big mistake that happens a lot of times, everyone they'll come to see me, they'll be like, the hammer-on is not making a sound. And what's happening is that this is going too slow. The speed of this finger is traveling too slow. And so usually that's the first thing that'll happen with a hammer-on if you've never tried them before. The speed of this is too slow. The speed of the index finger on the fretting hand is too slow, and there's no sound. So just try to combat that. Since you're not sitting in front of me, you want to come fast down onto that note. It's not about how hard necessarily that you're pushing down, but how fast that finger comes down. So you want to have the sound of the 2nd fret without picking, be able to make that sound, then you'll know you're pushing hard enough. If you go like this, there's no sound, you're just not moving fast enough. You just got to move fast, okay? So I'm going to play the open A string, hammer on the 2nd fret, and then I'm playing the open 4th string. So you want to get an arch in your finger to make sure that 4th string rings out, or move the finger. Either one's going to work, okay? So move the finger off. It's probably the easiest way to do it, because we're going right to a C add 9, which means our middle and index finger come down to the A and the D string on the 3rd and 2nd fret respectively. And here we're strumming again, soft, soft, so string 5 and 4 pretty much. But don't worry about being exact here. You can hit a few more strings if you need to. And the hammer on here is existing on the D string. So 0 to 2, then the open G string. Now if I cut out strums 5 and 6, you can see I made a mistake there. A little more awkward for me to strum without those extra strums. So for me, I find it easier to keep the hand moving instead of stopping. So when I'm strumming all those strokes, much easier for me, right? So I find that easier to continue, but if it's easier for you to cut those out, go for it. Whatever's going to allow you to play this right away. Okay, so that's our main riff there. We're starting off, and the theme of this whole piece right here. So that's played twice in the example. You can just keep going over that part till you get it. There's no rush to the second portion of this song, okay? So I've written this as an A section and a B section. So the second part, which is the B section, we'll go to a D chord, and here we're hitting the D string as our low notes, or the soft notes. So D and G, and the full chord. Soft again, so soft, soft, loud, loud, soft, soft. And then we're going to do a hammer on from 0 to 2 on the G string. And then we're going to play the 3rd fret on the A string, the B string. Alright, so after I play the D chord, I'm going to go back to the C add 9, same riff, and then the G chord twice. Then we go back to D again, C add 9, then G once, and the second time, I just do 4 strums, soft, soft, loud. And it finishes right there. So that's the end of the piece. It's really straightforward, not as easy to execute. So if you've never done this before, if you haven't done fills, it's going to be a challenge. But if you haven't done a hammer on, also that's even an additional challenge. Okay, so this might feel pretty awkward at first, but if you get this down, it can sound pretty cool. So I'm going to play it again, and I'm going to do from the start, and I'm going to let you see from this angle, so you can see my full strumming hand. Okay. So I missed one little fill in there, but you get the idea, okay? So just trying to give you a sample. Now, if you happen to play through this, and let's say you hit the wrong string, don't try, if you're trying to play this and keep in time, don't worry about stopping and starting again, just keep playing through it. So sometimes you will hit a different string, and it's okay. So if you're playing this live, and you hit like, instead, if you hit the 4th string and the 3rd string, the D and the G string, that would not be a problem, just keep playing through it. The only time anyone's gonna know you're making a mistake there is if you completely play, let's say, I know that it sounds off, right? So that would be one thing. But even then, if you do play a note that sounds off, if you keep playing through it without making a face, without doing anything, most likely no one's going to notice. That's what usually happens, right? So unless you're playing solo guitar up on a stage by yourself, where all eyes are on you and everyone's analyzing everything you're doing, really, you're not going to hear it. And even in that case, there's a lot of ways to play through things without anyone knowing that you've made a mistake. Okay, so just keep that in mind as you play through it. Biggest part here, get those fills in, get those hammer-ons down, and try to make those chord changes more interesting, right? So it makes it a little more interesting than just going. This is better here. It can add a lot of interest to a piece of music if you add that kind of stuff. So aside from making your own pieces up that do this, you can do this on other songs from other artists. There's a whole range of things you can do to actually apply what you're learning here. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you like this, please give me a thumbs up. Really helps me know what kind of content you want to see next time. And also subscribe. So I have more videos coming out each week. But definitely let me know if you have any questions in the comments below.